you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy, and this is our post NHL trade deadline episode. Pierre. We were on early on trade deadline day, and we have not publicly spoke about anything that happened. And we've got a lot to say. I know we'll get into that in a second, but I just want to let everybody know, for those of you that watch us on X or that are on X and follow the podcast and myself there, we know there's been a lot of issues with that today. So we do have a Blue Sky account. If you want to check us out over there and give us a follow, it's at sickpodnhl.bsky.social. Again, that's at sickpodnhl.bsky.social. However, you will not find Mr. Pierre McGuire over there.
No, well, I think I'm on the show, though. Am I on the show?
You're on the show, but not on social.
Oh, no, I don't do that.
You'll remain that way.
Jimmy runs the social media stuff for our family here at the Eye Test. Jimmy, first of all, thank you to you for Friday for putting up with all the background noise at Cornell.
No
Congratulations
worries.
to Mike Schaefer and his team. Big win over Yale University was not as easy as everybody thought. Dartmouth had a big win against St. Lawrence on Saturday, and congratulations to Doug Dara and the Cornell women beating Steph DeCoste and his Colgate women in the ECAC final. But I have to tell you, Jimmy, the game that I did on Friday afternoon between Clarkson and Cornell went 3 overtimes. I think it's the third or fourth longest college women's games ever. It was decided on a power play goal. But what I would tell you is it was one of the most ferocious, intense, physical games I've ever seen in men's or women's hockey, but in women's hockey in particular. And the caliber of play was so high.
That's great.
And I hope it's on YouTube somewhere so people can watch that. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a fan of the women's game, the men's game, both games, I don't care. Watch that game.
Yep.
And if you're a young lady that wants to play college hockey, that will give you a measuring stick of where you need to go. This was unbelievable theater. Unbelievable.
You can actually, Pierre, you can go to ESPN Plus where it was originally broadcast, and I think for about 2 weeks they have it up there, so you can go back.
Oh, do they? Okay, thank you. But I'm just telling you, this was hard nosed. There was a hit in that game. It reminded me of Zdeno Chara on Max Pacioretty in Montreal into the stanchion. And Jimmy, it was just like that.
I hope everyone was okay.
Everybody was okay.
Okay.
But I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Well, and I want to send a congratulations, Pierre, out to our friend, Coach Riley and the Army Black Knights, who took an overtime victory over Niagara.
On the road,
On the road. And they are now headed to Holy Cross in the semifinals there in the AHA. I believe that's this Friday. So good for them. And also, not that they didn't win, but I do want to let head coach Eric Lang and AIC know that we're thinking of them. They played their final game in Division I hockey. Amazing feat what they did there in the 8 years that he was behind the bench there. They accomplished so much. So I'm sure we know he'll land on his feet somewhere else, and a great job by all those players as well.
Well, if you're an NHL team and you want a real good quality assistant coach, you're not afraid to look at him. If you're a Division I program, we just had a firing today. Dave Smith at RPI is no longer there, so that job is open. The proximity of Troy, New York to Springfield is not that far, so that might be a fit for Coach Lang. I know that they're down to 3 in the Ferris State search. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you the names because I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay.
But I do know they're down to 3. That's very exciting for the people at Ferris State. I know who all 3 are. I think there's one candidate that stands out, but we'll see how that plays out. But I'm excited for all 3 of those young men who have an opportunity to get that job. So I think that in face-to-face starts next Monday, a week from today. But they got it down to 8. Now they're down to 3 at Ferris State. What else did I hear? There are going to be a couple more college jobs that are going to open soon. I think people are just waiting for the season to end. But no, what a wild weekend after the trade deadline of
Oh my
hockey.
gosh.
What a
Some-
wild weekend.
Some great games. Quickly before, though, Pierre, do you think any of those openings in college will be due to coaches taking it to the next level and taking jobs in the NHL, or is it just going to be just for changes at that level?
I think some will be changes at that level, but I think you could see one. And again, Jimmy, you know, I don't give the names. I
not
tell
giving
you,
names.
but I trust you.
Yep.
I think there'll be one college coach leaving for the NHL, and there could be two.
Okay. All right. Understood. Well, let's switch to the NHL because you're right. It was a crazy weekend after the deadline, but let's rewind to the deadline, Pierre. Now, look, I know a lot of our Boston listeners and viewers want us to get into the Brad Marchand thing. I'm going to save that a little more for the bottom of the hour, Pierre, just because it's more something we can dive a little deeper into. So what I want to do right now, Pierre, off the top of your head, and I know you want to get to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we're going to transition into that out of the deadline talk here. What I want to do is give me, I know it's hard, I'm putting you on the spot, but give me, if I say a winner and a loser at the deadline, who are the first two teams that come to your head? Winner and a loser, one from each.
No. Loser would be Carolina.
I'm with you.
That I didn't even have to think.
Yep.
They got some. They're going to have some stuff they're going to have to deal with there.
Yes.
From ownership down to management, they're going to have to deal with some stuff there. There's a lot of winners. I thought it's hard to look past Colorado. It's hard to look.
We're on the
past
same page.
But you know, I look at it. Colorado's won 5 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The only team hotter than them is Florida. They won 6.
Yeah.
I think Florida's right. See, so I think that Florida 2-step with Tampa and Florida Panthers, those guys did well. Both those teams did well.
Yep.
I just don't know, Jimmy. I don't know if anybody did better than Colorado. Now, one caveat to all that: Florida and Tampa are in the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
That Toronto stuff's not easy either. Like
No.
when they get it sorted out in Toronto, think about the center ice play for 1 second. Matthews, Tavares, Lawton, Kampf.
Mm-hmm.
There are not a lot of teams in the league. Forget the league, just in the Atlantic Division can be able to play against that. And then you add Brandon Carlo
On
and
D.
now he's got. And I know, by the way, Bruins fans, I love your passion and energy, but whoa, tone it down. Like Brandon Carlo, I know he was -2 to start the game. That's not on him.
No.
So stop like glorifying the fact that he was -2. I was at a college game
Me
on
too.
Saturday night, and I kept getting people telling me, "Oh, Brandon Carlo," but I'm like, just wait.
Yeah.
So he's playing with Morgan Riley. What a tandem that's going to be. And if you don't believe me, don't look at the stats. Go watch the game.
Yep.
Go watch the game. But I love the Bruins. I love the Bruins fans. But whoa, like, be fair.
Yeah,
Just be a little bit fair.
And think about too, Pierre, they're going to get Tanev back when he's healthy on the back end there in Toronto. I mean, they look good. You've been calling them all year to at least the conference final, if not the final. And I look at that team right now, and their defense is that's one of the best blue lines I've seen as a reporter for the Toronto.
Toronto, my goodness, it is their best blue line they've had in a long time.
Yes.
And the center ice position is all part of that blue line, whether you like it or not. That's how they play. Now, there were 2 goals the other night in the Colorado game, and he knows I'm not picking on him. He's 30 years of age. He's been coached by some tough guys in the league. Scott Lawton, 2 goals. One was a short, one was a power play goal, one was a 5-on-5. He made misreads. First game as a player there. It's a Saturday night game. You're playing against one of the best teams in the league. You're playing at altitude. You can only imagine the nerves are going through his body, even though he's played a whack NHL games. He made a mistake.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, they play Utah tonight. I guarantee you, he ain't going to make the same mistake
I
twice.
wouldn't want to be Utah tonight, and a good tease there. They will be in my sick pick later. But Pierre, one thing I noticed about that game too, and I'm not making excuses. This is an observation combined with the fact that you're putting some new guys together, and they're not used to that atmosphere, that dressing room, whatever. It's their first game with the Leafs. To have to deal with Colorado's speed that fast, like you're just getting acclimated to your new team, and all of a sudden you're thrown into a track meet, and that was one of the both ways, not just on Colorado. Toronto was fast too.
Hey,
that was a fourth game.
People forget Toronto had the lead in that game.
Yeah.
Like let's call it the way it was. They had the lead.
Yep.
Nathan McKinnon elevated his game, which is what he's done to a lot of teams. He's the leading scorer in the league. Cale McGuire elevated his game. He's a leading point getter for defensemen in the league. It's not like Colorado wasn't any good.
Yeah.
Now they've won 5 in a row. Buckle up. They're going to start winning a lot. So we talked about Toronto centers, okay?
Yep.
Let's just do
Colorado.
this. Nathan McKinnon, okay? Brock Nelson. Let's go. Let's forget 3 right now. It's Charlie Coyle, but let's forget 3. Jack Drury's your 4. There were times in Carolina Jack Drury was playing as a 2.
I know.
Ahead of Jordan Stahl. Now he's playing as a 4 because they got Charlie Coyle playing at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
What have we been saying about Coyle all season? When all the Bruins fans were trashing him and saying he's lost a step, we said, if this roster was constructed the right way and he was at the 3C, he is a very effective player, and he's still got it. And he proved that. He already got an assist.
He's still got it. And Brock Nelson's never played on this good a team. And I know they had some dances with greatness with the Islanders when he was there. He's there a long time. He never played on this good a team. No way. No way. So that's exciting for those guys. I would have liked to see them tune up their D just a little bit. But one of the things that I like, and we talked about him the other day, they're giving Malinsky more time. You can see, and they're turning him loose a little bit more offensively. He's a good player, Jimmy. I've told you about him for a bunch of years now. I've watched him play a lot of hockey when he's at Cornell. He's a good player. They've done a nice job cultivating him. Nolan Pratt coaches a defense there in Colorado. He's done a really good job with Sam Malinsky. So there's another team that I know. Jimmy, I read like you do, and I watch so much. But I get that people like Dallas. I like Dallas too. Yeah, and I love the fact they got Mikko Rantanen.
Yep.
And I know they got Miro Heiskanen, but is what's Miro going to be like? Is he going to play? Do we know that?
We don't know how.
And what's he going to be able to play at?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that. You don't know that. I don't even know if they know that. And where's Tyler?
Yeah. And hey, not to be forgotten, the current best team in the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets, and we were on the air for those trades when they made it. They go out and get Tanev and Shen. And these aren't like splashy type moves, but they're perfect moves for a team that's pretty much already completed. You know what I mean? Like they have a great solid lineup, but you add in those guys and the type of playoff hockey they can play, Pierre, and the experience they bring to that lineup. I think those are very good moves by Cheveldayoff.
I think people are realizing that it's more than numbers. I really do. I've always said this to you, Jimmy, ever since it became in vogue to be an analytics person. I said, be careful. Not to you, but to the teams. Be careful.
Yep.
Because you still, when it comes to the playoffs, there's no number that can tell you whether a guy wants to roll around in the mud or not, whether a guy wants to get punched in the mouth and still smile, whether a guy's prepared to take a hit to make a play, whether a guy's not ashamed to get knocked down because he knows he's going to have to take a big hit to make a play. There's no number for that, Jimmy.
No,
there's no number for that. There's no number for bravery, and there's no number for coachability, and there's no number for toughness. Yep. And when they find one, I'll be prepared to buy in 100%.
Yep. And Pierre, when they do, if these guys are still playing, if it's it's in the near future, I can guarantee Tanev and Shen will have a high rating with those numbers.
They will. Those are guys who roll in the mud.
Yeah.
Those are guys who bring it every day.
Yeah.
That Tanev family, they're tough guys.
Yeah.
Those kids are tough kids.
All right. I want to just say quickly before, like a team that there's one deal I wanted to get to. And when it happened, I immediately contacted you and I said, what the heck is this trade? And that was the one between the San Jose Sharks and the Ottawa Senators, where the Ottawa Senators acquired forward Fabian Zetterlund and Tristan Robbins and a 4th-round pick in the 2025 draft from the San Jose Sharks for forwards Zach Ost. I always pronounce his name wrong.
A stop check. And Noah Gregor, and a 2nd-round pick in 2025. What's so ironic about that is only about a half hour before we were on the air, Pierre, and you were talking about a stop check and saying he's a guy that's going to slide in and become a big part of that team in Ottawa. He can move up the ladder there, and then they trade him. What gives? They must have thought Zetterlund, and they probably still do, can give him a lot more points. I'm not sure Zach would ever be a massive point getter, and Zetterlund's a winger. He's more of a winger. the Josh Norris stuff is painful to think about, but look, I get it. And Dylan Cousins going to do, what I thought. I don't know what the rush was to trade Cousins out of Buffalo, but for whatever reason they decided to do that. That's on them. That's fine. I get it.
Yep.
And Josh is a really good player. I just don't know the life expectancy as a hockey player for him because of the shoulder surgeries that he's had and the problems that he's had. But he's a good player. Josh is a really good player.
Yes.
The Yastopchuk thing, I think when I look at it in hindsight, Noah Gregor skates. Zach's a good player, and he fits into kind of what they're doing. He'll slot in well because remember they traded Nico Sturm to Florida,
right.
So that's where Zach can maybe slide in a little bit because Sturm was more of a depth player, and I thought Zach would be more of a high-end depth player. They probably think Zetterlund's going to score a little bit more.
Right. I just look at Ottawa up here, though, and I feel like scoring and high-end skill isn't a major issue there. It was more trying to bring more gritty stuff, the stuff we were just talking about that wins in the playoffs. And you did that in Cousins. So I figured the next move they made would have been to add more of that, not trade it away. And I feel like they traded that away a bit in that, but we'll see what happens.
No, we will. We'll see. I mean, I don't like to prejudge on a lot of them, but I do know one thing. Pittsburgh Penguins traded Jake Gensel for the guys from Nashville. And then they turned around and traded one of the guys from Nashville, Luke Shen, up to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you really go deep on that Jake Gensel move, that's a painful thing to – if you're a Penguins person, that's a painful one to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's get over to Carolina, Pierre, because I think this is something we need to talk about here. So they obviously the whole Mikko Rantanen mess. He ends up in Dallas, and now their head coach Rod Brindamore spoke on a radio station down in Carolina today, and did not sound too happy about the way this situation unravels. Let's go to that clip right now.
That has left here because they didn't like it here. That was Seppa Mikko, and he did not like it. When he showed up, he said, "There's 4 teams I'll go play for. Well, you're not one of them." So there's 28 other teams he wasn't going to. And when the better question is, should we have known that before we signed him,
right?
Or attempted to sign him? Gensel was a totally opposite thing. We offered him the contract. We offered him at the end. He's here,
right?
But we didn't for whatever reason. That's a different conversation. And all the other guys that walked out of here at free agency is because they got paid a lot more money than we were offering. They all wanted to stay. Right. So Mika was the only one that I've been associated with that said, I don't want to. This is not for me, and I think there's other circumstances on that. It's not because of the hockey. It was because I think his family, it wasn't for him. Mm-hmm. So good, and I appreciate that he let us know that. We probably should have known that before we made the deal. Maybe that changes how we go about things.
That's an interesting at the end there. That's a very interesting comment.
That first of all, that's a honorable guy, Rod Brindamore. So winner,
and he's given his heart and soul to that team.
Captain of a Stanley Cup winning team. I was there the day he got traded from Philadelphia to Carolina because there was a massive snowstorm. I was doing the games in Carolina, and we got snowed in. And Rod Brindamore, because he didn't want to miss a day of practice, went downstairs, bought 2 plastic bottles of soda, cut the tops off, and went out and shoveled on his own with those because there were no shovels to get to the rink. That is a true story.
He's a maniac. I love it. That's awesome.
No, he's such a man of honor.
Yeah.
And he wasn't mean.
No.
He just called it the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard what he said about Gensel.
Mm-hmm.
Just what I just told you.
Why I knew we had to play that clip. Yeah.
I didn't know what the clip said. I told you before the clip went.
Yep.
And I'm not in the hockey operations department in Carolina. I used to be the head coach of their team when I was in Hartford, so I could have told you a little bit more. But here's what I'll tell you. Prior preparation prevents potential problems.
Mm-hmm.
They can say whatever they want now and try to cleanse it all they want. There were not enough preparation. They fell in love with the shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
They fell in love with the shiny object. The problem was they didn't realize the guys they traded away, those guys are real shiny right now.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what's going on in Carey. Marty Natchez, you think he's having a little bit of fun playing with Nathan McKinnon?
Yeah, just a little.
How about Jack Drury? Jack Drury's slotted perfect.
Yep.
There's going to be so much energy when he's on the ice. So he's going to play 9 to 12 minutes a game. You're going to get unbelievable energy from that player. I don't know. I mean, they're probably going to tell you in Carolina they had all these numbers figured out, and this is where they thought that Rantanen would go.
Yeah.
But
I can't argue with Brindamore, though.
How can you?
A huge rookie mistake on the GM's part. I'm sorry. And I look, I'm not trying to disrespect. I'm just giving my straight up opinion. It seems to me like that. It's just a rookie mistake.
So let me just ask you this. You're going to say it's just a GM. I'm not saying it's just a GM.
No.
So the one thing I learned, it takes more than just a centerman to win faceoffs.
Yep.
Okay, you got to have support from your wingers and your D. Mm-hmm. Even if you win a faceoff, if your D don't do the right thing or your wingers don't do the right thing, it's for naught. The faceoff's lost. You could have been doing the right thing by getting Mikko Rantanen, but the setup wasn't proper or the finish wasn't proper. No pun intended. So it's the people around you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's the people. It's the depth of your management team. I talked to an amazing hockey resource. He called me out of the blue yesterday. I was out scouting a prep school game. I told you.
Yeah.
I was at UConn watching Westminster play against Andover.
And by the way, who won that?
Andover beat Westminster. And the day before, I watched Westminster play Belmont Hill and watched them win on a shorthanded goal with less than 3 minutes to go in the game, which was unbelievable. Belmont Hill thought they had that thing done, and they lost. So that was before I went to the college games. But anyway, so this gentleman reached out to me, and he said, "You know what's scary, Pierre?" I said, "No, there's a lot scary, but what's scary?" And he said, "The Florida Panthers management team. Go look at it. Look at who Billy Zito has surrounded himself with. Mm-hmm. And nobody's name is in the paper. Nobody's leaking anything. Nope. Nobody's calling up guys from national broadcasts and say, oh, by the way, we're going to do this, this, and this. So make sure you rate something good about me."
Yep.
Nobody's doing that there.
No. And they're getting their business done.
Because they're veteran hockey people that don't need that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
They've already done their chores. They're living life large. They're feeling great. They're part of an amazing brand. The Florida Panthers have become an amazing brand in their marketplace.
They really
10 years ago, I can tell you right now, you could never say that.
No. When Vinny Viola bought that team, they were in the dumps, man. They were definitely in the dumps.
I had the honor and privilege to talk to Mr. Viola 3 or 4 different times about a position there. This was going back. Mm-hmm. I was at NBC. It was right near the beginning of the NBC contract. He had just purchased the team. And I just knew he was going to be a great owner. Because he had passion, he had moral fiber, but he had a little bit of military in him. Mm-hmm. Probably more than a little, to be fair. A whole lot of military. He's a West Point guy. And you could tell he was going to push the right buttons. It was going to take some time, but you could tell he was going to push the right buttons.
Congratulations, Dan. Going back to Carolina, though, too, the one thing I do want to say, and this is just my opinion, based on talking to players that have played there, I don't like right now that the city, Raleigh, is getting a bad name because of what happened in Ranton and people saying that nobody wants to go there.
Keep going. That is so false.
It is a great place to live. Yes. And I know so many players that played there and maybe signed with another team after, were traded away. And then when their career was over, they came back and they set up shop and raised their families there. So I don't think it's fair that Raleigh's getting a bad rap right now.
I'm really proud of you for that. Good job. I should have said that earlier. That's on me. Okay. Good. Thanks for picking that up. Raleigh's a really good place to raise a family. Raleigh's a great town. You look at NC State. You go down the road to Duke, down in Durham. Amazing place. You go over to Wake Forest. You go up to Chapel Hill, UNC. I've been in all these places. Mm-hmm. I've watched events at all those campuses. Yeah. One of my children was recruited by a couple of those schools to go play sports. Mm-hmm. So I can just tell you that is a special place.
Yeah.
That whole area. That
weather's good.
Awesome.
It's
not a reflection. And I want the people there to know, because Hurricane Siren texts us a lot and he asks questions. And you know what? I called him on Saturday, just so you know, I was driving from Cornell to Boston to go to that prep school game, and I called him. I reached out to him.
Yep.
And I was talking to him about different things in
good.
hockey. It was good. It was really good. But anyways, long story short, Raleigh's a great place for hockey. The rink is outstanding.
The atmosphere is awesome.
The atmosphere is great.
Oh.
I've been to so many good establishments, whether it's for dining or post-game activities. Phenomenal.
Yep.
They have, without a doubt, the best what was the best press pregame barbecues
Oh my God.
in their parking lot.
It's unreal.
It makes it so much fun. The environment there is great. And you got an awesome coaching staff.
Yeah.
I had the honor of coaching Jeff Daniels. I coached against Rod Brindamore. I had him in the 92 All-Star game. I know Tim Gleason as a player unbelievably well. They got an amazing staff of coaches there.
Yeah.
Their training staff is off the charts. They got so many good things there. So don't take people in Raleigh, don't take that as a personal affront.
No, exactly.
Ronson didn't want to go there. I don't know. He must have had his reasons. I don't know why he didn't want to go there.
Nope.
They fouled up on Gensel.
Yeah.
You didn't make that mistake. I didn't make that mistake. They did.
They did. And it wasn't the city either. It was
You
just
heard Rod Brindamore say it. Why didn't we offer the contract? What are we doing?
There you go. All right. So let's move on, Pierre. I want to get to the Bruins and Marchand because obviously this is a huge topic where I am right now. We're going to play. This is Brad Marchand actually finally met the media, today in Florida. And ironically they might be landing now, but this afternoon was flying up with his new team to guess where? Boston, because the Panthers will play here tomorrow night. Like, talk about the irony. So they will play the Bruins. Obviously, Brad Marchand will not be in the lineup. However, he did say in his presser today, he was hoping to skate either today and he might do it in Boston. So he is making some progress there coming back from his upper body injury. But let's play this clip. Now, it's a little long. We might cut it halfway through, but I want to get some of it because there's some really good stuff here. So let's go.
You know, I've had an incredible run in that organization, and I'm extremely proud. How things went there. Sorry. So yeah, it was very disappointing that things didn't get done, just because obviously I love the organization. I wanted to stay there, but at the end of the day, I also know that business is business, and every player has a shelf life, and regardless if that's when we want it to be or not, sometimes there's things out of our control that dictate situations. If we were in the playoffs at the point in time, we'd probably be having a much different conversation. And I know that. Something we had talked about previously, but we weren't. And at that point, very tough decisions have to be made. And the one thing that I always respect, I told Cam Swings this, is they have a job to do, and they have to make the best decisions for the team. And I completely understand where the decisions need to be made. It sometimes they work against you, but that's why, I believe Swings is one of, if not the best general managers in the league. I watched him for a very long time, excel at his job, and for those who are in the organization and know the effort that he puts in every day, and how hard he works, no one would question where his loyalty lies, and that is to do what's best for the team every day. And when you're part of that group, you feel it sometimes. And like I said, every guy has their day, and it's obviously not what you want to have happen, but I don't hold that against him or the group. It's just part of life. It's part of the game. Also.
So there you go. And he went on to just thank a lot of people, Pierre. But I really respect Brad there, kind of painting the reality of the game and that it's a business. And, obviously he's upset, but he doesn't take it personal. And, I see people right now in our chat room there saying, the Bruins got hosed. It's pathetic, the return they got there. Look, what happened was they couldn't reach an agreement. And when that happened, by all accounts, by all reports I've seen, is that Brad said, okay, then can you trade me to Florida? And they acquiesced and they got the best deal they could. And Pierre, as someone that's worked in hockey operations, I'm sure you can explain to our viewers and listeners, when the team you're dealing with knows your back is kind of against the wall there and the player only wants to go to one team, it's highly unlikely you're going to get the proper return. It's just the way it is, right?
It is the way it is, unless you're dealing with a real civilized human on the other end. So I'm not going to tell you the team, but I know for a fact there was a deal that was made back in 2009. Pittsburgh won the Cup in 2009, so it was right after the 2009 season. And the general manager of one of the teams says, I got you up against the wall. And the other GM said, yep, you do. And the GM who said, I got you up against the wall, says, I'm not going to do business with you like that because I respect the way you've always done business with me. And they came up with a very it's a good story because it's not the dark side. It's the nice side that I want to expose. And they both came to an agreement on a real good trade that actually benefited both teams really well. But it was an enlightened person who had already won a Stanley Cup dealing with another person who had won a Stanley Cup. It's a small fraternity, Jimmy, as you know, the guys that, whether you're on the coaching side, the management side, the playing side, it's a small fraternity of guys that have won. And so I think there's a respect that always maintains. Even if you don't like the person, there's still a respect that goes into, because you know what it took to get there.
Yeah.
And it's not anywhere near as easy as everybody thinks.
Exactly.
It's just not.
Yeah, but okay, so let's forget that part that he wants to only go to Florida. But the other thing is they don't know when he's going to be healthy yet.
No. But this is something. This
tail end of the career,
But this is what, and I can tell you this name. I'm very comfortable. I talked with Scotty Bowman for a good substantial amount of time yesterday when I was out scouting that game at UConn. And he said, Pierre, they thought about this in Florida. They were smart. And I said, Scotty, this is a story you told me almost 40 years ago about what Sam Pollock used to do. He'd go out and he'd always get a player that was a little bit older, that maybe didn't have too much tread left on the tire, but was going to bring a ton of energy into the room, was going to get the guys excited for maybe if you're deep in a series and guys are looking at their wounds and they're saying, oh, my God, I got to go through this again. And this guy's not going to let anybody feel sorry for themselves. Sam Pollock and Frank Selke Sr. used to do this in Montreal. You go look at it. The highway of all their Stanley Cups is littered with older guys they brought in near the end of their careers to try to rejuvenate the younger guys, to show them how important it was, especially guys that hadn't won. Now, Marchand's won, but he had two bitter disappointments, 13 and 19. And 19, I think he's still looking in the mirror for what happened on the Pietrangelo goal at the end of the first period. He remembers. Don't worry, he does. So I think Florida, with all the brain power that's around the general manager, Zito, who's a pretty smart cat too, a Yale-trained attorney, and a former player there, by the way. When he was playing at Yale, I was coaching at St. Lawrence. Now, Billy, don't get mad at me, but you weren't a great player. You're a smart guy. And so he surrounds himself with these guys, and they come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I'm just telling you, you haven't read that or heard that anywhere.
No.
But this is what I'm telling you goes on in these rooms. You asked me before, take us inside the room.
Yep.
I'll take you inside the room. You may not like what goes on inside there.
Yep.
But I'll take, and then poor Donnie's sitting on the other end, Sweeney, and he's like, okay, and it's not just Donnie, just so everybody in Boston knows.
No, it's a whole collective group.
There's a collection of, especially above him, Cam's part of it. The Jacobs are a major part of it. Their ownership.
Yep.
They want to rebuild their business.
And we don't have it here, but I just want to clarify for anyone that didn't see it. Don Sweeney was pretty emotional at that post-trade deadline press conference that he gave. I mean, you could tell he was,
he lost
a guy. He was part of recruiting Brad Marchand.
Hold on one second. Yeah. Let me just tell you the facts. Nobody remembers this. Donnie Sweeney got punted out of Boston. Okay?
Yep.
Donnie Sweeney played with the Islanders in Dallas when he was done in Boston.
That's right.
Just so people understand. And he was a lifelong Bruin because when he came out of Harvard, first he was at St. Paul's, and then he went to Harvard, and then he went to the American Hockey League. And the guy that created a spot for Donnie Sweeney in Boston was Mike Milbury. Trust me on that. And Mike never got enough credit for that. And Donnie be the first person to tell you. Okay, it was him. Because in those days, the red line was still in. There wasn't a market for 5'8" defensemen.
No.
Unless you were Kurt Giles, who was a nasty piece of business, the head coach at Edina High School. Unless you were Kurt Giles, there weren't a lot of guys at that height playing in the league.
Yeah.
Mike Milbury created that opportunity for Donnie, and Donnie took it and ran, and good for him.
Yep.
But Donnie knows exactly what Brad went through because he got punted out of town.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, and yet the only criticism I could have of the whole situation in terms of the Bruins here, Pierre, and I'm not just singling Don Sweeney out, I'm just saying team line, is, and we've discussed this before, is that, you know, in terms of roster construction, there were some mistakes made, and we've been through it. We're not going to go over it again, but there were just some mistakes made over the last couple of years that I think led to this situation, that they put them in a position where they said, you know what, we got to blow it up. That's just it. We have to blow it up. It's that time. It's finally time. And I get it. They had a great run of always being in contention. They had a great run with pillars in the organization like Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand. You know, even Brandon Carlo could be considered in that.
Hey, Tuukka Rask. Don't forget Tuukka
Rask. You know, I mean, so it all, as I've been saying, and I know Bruins fans don't want to hear this right now because it's an emotional time for them, but everything goes in cycles, and the cycle is over, and they'll start over. And, you know, if things go well with the cap and the amount of cap space they have, if they draft well, you could turn it around. You never know.
Jimmy, I need you to look this up. This is for Bruins fans, okay? Because as much as everybody loves the Bruins, I kind of like the Penguins, okay? I kind of do. So the last time the Penguins played a relevant hockey game was 2017. We're in 2025.
Exactly.
They've had Evgeny Malkin, Christopher Letang, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust. They used to have Jake Gensel. They had Matt Murray. They had Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yep.
So if you want to go look at the computer and tell me the last time they played a meaningful playoff game that got them out of the first round, please let me know.
No, you already said it. You already said it. I don't have to look it up there. We've had the discussion, Pierre, and you know, it is what there's worse situations to be in. I know it stings right now, but even Marchand is saying it right there, Bruins fans. Don't blame Donnie right now.
I would not blame Donnie. I'm just telling you, folks.
It is what it is.
It's a tough deal. So 2 years ago was tough. Montgomery's there, and they had this unbelievable season when most people didn't think they would.
Yep.
And they get punched in the mouth by the 8th seed, the Florida Panthers. They get punched right in the mouth.
Yep.
And part of why they got punched right in the mouth is because Florida had players that could punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
The Bruins kind of lost their way. They forgot what being a Bruin was, and they had a lot of guys with no tread left on the tire.
Yeah.
They did not. So now they got to fix it, and I think they will. I think they will. I really do. I think they will. But it's gonna look. There's gonna be some pain there, just like Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh got big pain. Big pain.
And good point there by Steve Lash. You and I already talked about it off the air up here, but he says don't forget the connection with Gregory Campbell and Sean Thornton in Florida too might have helped as well.
Yeah, with Gregory for sure. Sean's more on the PR side of things, but you know what I think of Florida, and these are really good hockey men. So it's a great point by Steve. There's a tie-in, but if Donnie Sweeney didn't know, if Billy Zito and all those Rick Dudley, all those guys down in Florida, if they don't know who Brad Marchand is, and I give up. And I don't mean any disrespect to Steve because it's a good point. But I think they kind of knew who he was.
All right, let's get to our sponsors here. As we always tell you, TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces, and delivering a peace of mind. for a no-obligation customs or freight quote, and this goes out to all you players who were just traded, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast at shiptcs.com, and they will help you out there. And, of course, let's get over to our friends Betway, where you can still go right now and go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses with a new membership. Scan that QR code right in front of you if you're watching. Otherwise, go to the details section on the website to create an account and redeem the welcome offer. It is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. It is not available in Ontario right now. You must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Let's go to that sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right. I'm going to talk to you right now, Pierre. You mentioned, well, you know what? We'll start out east here in the early game. The Edmonton Oilers are in Buffalo right now. By the way, I like that pickup, Pierre. We said it the other day on the air because it had already happened. The Jake Wallman pickup already paying dividends.
Yep.
Had a couple assists the other day. Looked very comfortable.
How about his hit on Rantanen?
What's that?
The hit on Rantanen.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Right away, getting physical and involving himself there. So good on him. So listen, here's a little stat compliment of our good friends over at the Ice Guys. In the last 20 Oilers games, the first period has gone over 1.5. And usually it's because of the Oilers scoring 1 or 2 or more goals in the first period. So they generate offense right off the get-go. They're going against a Buffalo team who is reeling right now. UPL is having a tough time in that. He's playing a lot of games in a row that he's not used to. He looks kind of exhausted out there. So I like what they're saying. I'm going to echo their thought. Take the first period over. You can get it at minus 130 right now over at Betway. That's over 1.5. So there has to be a combined 2 goals in the first period. Now I'm going to go out to the game that Pierre referenced earlier, Utah and Toronto. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be Utah right now facing the Leafs. They're coming off that loss in Colorado. They had a game to kind of get everybody used to each other right now. By all accounts, I was watching a lot of interviews and highlights of their practice yesterday in Utah. They got to know each other a little more. They had a solid practice. I'm liking the Toronto Maple Leafs to go into Utah right now on the puck line and win by 2 goals or more. And you can get that at plus 220 value right now. That's some really good value. So take them at minus 1.5 against Utah. Let's get to that Q&A.
Hey, Jimmy, one thing before we get to the Q&A. The must-watch game of the night, though, is Detroit and Ottawa.
Oh, yeah. And
because I'm just going to tell you right now, Jimmy, if
Detroit's back against the wall,
Detroit doesn't win this game, all that planning and all that work and all those guys and all that hot streak under the new coach, Todd McClellan, that goes away.
Pierre, what did you think of the fact they go out and get Mrazek? And now, look, I know
they knew him because he drafted him.
Right. And I understand his stats are horrible in Chicago, but let's remember the defense.
Yeah.
So Cam Talbot's been struggling a lot lately. You go out
and
get
Mrazek. Old age and injuries, but go ahead.
Would you have started Mrazek tonight because they're going with Talbot?
No, I would not have started Mrazek tonight.
I'm with you. A lot of people are bashing McClellan for that.
No.
I think it shows the veteran faith right now.
Yeah, he's just saying, okay, we're going to all swim together or we're going to drown. That's the way it's going to be. Yep. But we're all going to swim together. You take it more on the optimistic side. One other thing I just want to add about Florida and Boston before you get to the questions is, Paul Fenton was a manager in this league. Paul Fenton was an assistant manager in this league. Paul Fenton's done a lot of stuff in hockey. So you look at, like, Billy Zito's going into his room and he's saying, okay, Rick Dudley, you watch as many games as anybody on the road. He's a hockey lifer. He's been a head coach in the NHL and a GM. Then you go to Paul Fenton, who played for Toronto, who's been a scout for a long time, learned from Jack Parker, BU as a player, goes to Nashville and learns from Ray Shero and David Poyle and had Barry Trotz as a coach. Then he takes over in Minnesota. It doesn't go well for whatever reason. That happens a lot of times. What do you think the experience factor is when he goes into the room and talks to Billy Zito? Pretty good?
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say. There's so many – this is all these young guys that want to be managers in the league. Don't be blind, man, and don't be worried. There are a lot of older guys that can help you.
Yep.
I'll never forget Craig Patrick every single day would either call Scotty or Bob or me or whomever. Like, I'm just telling you. Those guys weren't afraid. Cliff Fletcher surrounded himself with amazing people.
For sure. And,
I
Pierre,
think a lot of these managers come in the league and they have no clue. They don't.
And you need older guys to help you when you don't. They're not there to hurt you. They're there to help you. Take the advice. I mean, I can't say where I'd be without taking advice in the business I'm in. It's invaluable. Quickly.
Anyways, let's get to the questions. I had to get that off because I didn't have a chance to say it because you were talking too much.
One thing I do want to do is I didn't give you a chance to talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets quickly before the Q&A and about a certain player named Adam Fantilli.
Yeah, he had a hat trick yesterday, second hat trick of the year. Should have been Rookie of the Year last year if he wouldn't have been hurt. No disrespect to Connor Bedard, but Adam Fantilli would have been the Rookie of the Year if he hadn't have been hurt. And there's a guy that's second in the league in scoring for defensemen. His name's Zach Werenski. Werenski.
Exactly. That team, we told you about them in the beginning of the year, and look where they are right now. It's amazing what they're doing. And man, the New York Rangers, as I was saying, Pierre, you're watching their faces. They didn't know what hit them with that team. They come back, they score 2 shorthanded goals on the same Columbus power play and still end up and tie the game 3-3 and still end up losing 7-3. That's the role Columbus is on right now. That's how confident they are playing right now. And good on them. And the Rangers are in some trouble. So, all right, let's get to that Q&A. What do we got? Joe, question. Would you have done the same as Montreal? 0 trades, no center help.
I would have tried to get a centerman without ruining the infrastructure of my team. And I think the prices became so high after the Brock Nelson move that I think a lot of people just said, well, timeout. It wasn't just Montreal. There were a few teams. Vancouver said, whoa, timeout. LA, whoa, timeout. I just think a lot of teams didn't want to mess with the infrastructure of their team because the prices became so high.
Yep, and I'm with Pierre on that for sure. All right, next question. What do we got? Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, how do you like the line Kachuk, Bennett, and Marchand if it happens? It's going to be a pain in the you-know-what.
It's going to be nasty.
Oh, wow. That is going to be something. You see Marchand, too. Somebody said, hey, I know you got to play with him a little at Four Nations. Do you feel a little more friendly towards Sam Bennett? He goes, no, he's still a scumbag. And he's just joking. He says, no, I can't wait to play with him.
Yeah, they won't be fun. They won't be fun.
Flying for sure. All right, next question. Max R. It looks like Colorado and Dallas will play each other in round 1, which is a shame. Get rid of this setup. How crazy is that? Both teams could win the cup. Just what I'm saying.
It's the same thing. How about Florida and Tampa, or Toronto and Tampa or Florida going to play each other? They could. That's what I said to Jimmy before, Max. It's heartbreaking to see. That's why 1 through 8, 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 5 plays 4. It's the most equitable thing. I don't know why we're still tied to this. I guess the league must know better than all of us, but they must have their reasons. But I wish we would just switch it up now.
All right, let's go. What do we got? Randy Workman, can you see the Stars catch the Jets?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Without Miro Heiskanen and Tyler Seguin, I don't care that they added.
Yeah.
What they added.
I think they're just focused. Let's just get to the playoffs.
Let's just get our team healthy, up to speed, and let's get in the playoffs and play.
All right, next question. John Smith, Islanders' future a bit brighter with Cal Ricci and Iserman in the pipeline. I like what they did and didn't do. I agree. John.
I agree. We love the Ricci thing. We thought it was a great move for the Islanders. Plus, they got assets. Everybody that watches this or has been watching for a while now, I thought Cole Iserman should have been a top 10 pick last year. I've watched him play so much. He's a pure scorer. Look at her. Are there holes in his game? Yeah, there are. But he does one thing that a lot of guys can't do. That guy can grip it, rip it, and score a ton. He can score a ton. So I think, the Islanders are getting better. They still got a lot of work to do. I'm just glad they didn't trade Noah Dobson. I'm really happy they didn't trade Noah Dobson.
And the other thing, too, Pierre, about Iserman that you pointed out, a lot of people are knocking on. He's one-dimensional. His defensive side of the game is not too good. Look at the guy he's playing for, like you said, in Jay Pandolfo right now at BU. That can do nothing.
Better all the time.
Yep.
Just, look, he was a 13th forward in the World Junior for Team USA. They won a gold medal. He won't, if he's playing next year, not in the NHL, but if he's playing next year, World Junior, he's not going to be the 13th forward. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep. All right. Next question. JRB, how does asking Marner to waive his no trade affect negotiations this summer? You know about that, Pierre, right?
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware of it all. I don't think it's going to play much. That shouldn't even carry over.
No.
Look, they want to win the cup. They're all singing from the same songbook.
Exactly.
They
I was
know the
just gonna say
relationship Marner has with Matthews. Those guys don't hate Mitch Marner. They like Mitch Marner in the room. The coaches don't hate Mitch Marner. They like Mitch Marner. It's all part of the business of hockey. It's big business and it's mean. It's a mean business.
And Pierre, is it not the GM's job to ask him anyways? I mean, he wouldn't be doing his job if that was put on his table and he doesn't know if he's bringing Marner back. I think you got to at least explore it.
Yeah, no, I think so. But they better know they're bringing Marner back.
I have no idea. I have no insight.
They better. If they have no clue about that, we'll see down the road. But
I'm with you. I think they truly are. I don't think it's just, they're pitching this to the media. I think they truly are focused on one thing, and that's winning a cup.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the guy that runs Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, Keith Pelley, I can tell you right now, he's all about winning. Like, I was fortunate enough to win 2 Geminis when he was at TCS. That's like winning a Stanley Cup, okay? Trust me when I tell you, he's all about winning.
Yeah.
It's nothing else. It's just go win.
Yeah. So
just win.
Exactly.
So that's what it's about.
All right. Next question. Bert L., do you believe there is any correlation between the trade of Seth Jones and the Blackhawks 4-game point streak? I don't think I'm going to say that it's because Seth Jones is gone. I would say it's because Spencer Knight is now a Blackhawk. That's what I'll say.
That's good reasoning by you. I'll say that it's that time of the year. If you want to buy into fool's gold, go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those teams don't always get the A effort from some of the other teams.
Exactly. Those are sneaky teams to play at this time of year.
Yep.
All right, next question. FFFF. When Montreal attempts to acquire a 2C, should the player be large and gritty?
With skill, yes.
With skill, yep.
Hard to find. Dylan Cousins would have been a good one to do it. That would have been really good. But, I get what Ottawa's trying to do. I totally get it. They want to make the playoffs. Yep. Montreal's, a little bit further behind in their development than Ottawa is, but I think Montreal's going to pass them before it's too long.
All right, next question. John Smith, a team is granted permission to speak to example Besser. Can they sow the seeds of a potential deal during the summer, or is that considered tampering? You guys are the best. Thanks, John.
So just make sure John stays up there for a second. A team is granted permission to speak to Besser, Besser's agent. Can they sow the seeds of? No, not right now. Not the trade deadline's over, so no, that's not happening.
No, I think he was saying, let's say, for example, the Canucks had granted Besser and an interested trade partner the chance to sow an extension before the trade.
That's fine. That is not tampering.
No.
But here's my advice. This would just be my advice to the people that would do that one side or the other. Make sure it's taped and make sure it's documented.
Yep.
That's my only advice.
Okay.
Make sure it's taped and documented.
All right. Next question. Bert L., what personality traits or qualities do successful goalies have that a successful forward or defenseman might not necessarily have? They're crazy. That's meant fully as a compliment. Goalies are a different breed.
Yeah, you just
agree on that.
So one time the Detroit Red Wings bus was supposed to leave at 11:35 from the rink. And the guys, Scotty was a stickler for on time. If it said 11:35, it's probably 11:34 and a half, okay? Like you had to be on. So the bus was like 5 minutes late leaving. It's because Hasek was doing an interview for somebody. All the guys were ripping into the front of the bus, but they were doing it from the back. So Scotty's not going to turn around and look. And when Hasek gets on the bus, he looks at his wrist and he goes really loud, "Worth the wait."
That's great.
Goalies are a bit different. They get a little bit longer leash to run with.
Yep. All right. And somebody said they're kind of like relief pitchers there. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's
all right. Next question. FFF, have you guys noticed that the Capitals have about 8 players taller than 6'2"? Is the larger team a reason for their present success, or are they tooling up for playoff hockey? I think it's both.
I think it's both. We've talked about Ross Mahoney. We've talked about, Brian McClellan, who's probably close to 6'5", their former general manager, who's president of hockey operations. Ross Mahoney loves tough guys. He's a Regina, Saskatchewan guy. Steve Bowman's the same. He works out of Ontario. So their scouting staff, Dan Brooks, they like those kinds of players. They have room for skilled smaller guys, but mostly they like bigger guys.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What do we got? Ethan Russell, what kind of player can Fraser Minton be? Pierre, I have not seen enough to
smart
judge.
two-way, 200-foot player. He will be a very good player in the National Hockey League. He will be a very good player, but he's going to be a smart two-way guy. There's a lot of Charlie Coyle in him.
Ooh, okay.
He might have a little bit more pure offense than Charlie, but similar type to Charlie.
All right, good stuff. What do we got? Ethan Russell again. What a great trade in acquiring Middlestat. How many years of retooling do you think it'll take them before they become contenders again? He's speaking to the Bruins. I love the moves by Don. Ethan, I'll say TBD on Middlestat. That's all. And I think the kid's got a ton of skill, but sometimes I wonder when a player is traded twice in such a short time. I just wonder about
So that's what Jimmy just said is really wise. It's not a knock on Casey Middlestat, by the way. Skill level's excessive. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
He had a tough draft combine. Buffalo kind of overextended to get him because a lot of people were not going to take him in a first-round situation because of what had happened at the combine. Goes to Colorado, does some good things there, but I think they saw there were still some things that had to improve conditioning-wise and strength-wise. So I think the Bruins are probably aware of that, and they'll probably push for that, especially this summer, so that he comes back a bigger, stronger, more skillful version of himself. But I think it's going to take 4 to 5 years to fix it. That's usually what it takes.
I'm with Pierre on that. I'm with Pierre. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, why does it feel like everyone in Pittsburgh seems to be in denial? Nobody wants to use the word rebuild. They keep saying they're going to turn it around sooner than later. It's just PR, I think. You got, you don't want to lose your fan base. You don't want to. I would be my guess. I think they have to know what they're really facing, you would hope. Pierre's going to give a no comment on this, or? All right. Next question. FFFF. Who is in worse shape, Boston or Pittsburgh?
Good question. That's a good question.
I'm going to say TBD. I'm
going to say that you have to do it position by position and depth overall. And I'd say right now Boston's probably in worse shape than Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pittsburgh started their rebuild a little while ago, whereas Boston is just starting now. So Pittsburgh's got a little bit of an advantage. I think they've got more depth at different positions, not established NHL depth, more depth coming up through their system. Mm-hmm. You got to remember they got Rutger McGuire. He's had a real good run in the American Hockey League right now. They've got some guys coming in from Europe that are going to be pretty good. They're players that people don't know because they're not high-profile players right now, but they're going to be good players. They're going to be good. So I think Pittsburgh's probably a little bit ahead. Not by much, but a little bit ahead.
Okay, next question. Steve Lash, Jimmy and Pierre, you mentioned that Carolina is a loser for the trade deadline, but where do you think Vancouver fits in? Winner, loser, neutral? They couldn't get a deal done with Besser on an extension. I'm going to say neutral right now, Steve. I was thinking about this. I saw your question over there, so I've been thinking about how I'd answer it. I'd say neutral only because, and I know they're in different position, kind of, future-wise than Montreal, but I don't know if you agree with me, Pierre. I feel like sometimes if you don't see the right deal is there, don't just make a deal to make a deal. Sometimes it's okay to just take a pass. Because you can really alter the course of your franchise if you force something.
I agree. No, I agree. So here's another thing. You asked me for one winner and one loser. You didn't ask me for 5. You asked me for 1.
Yes.
So the one loser I thought was Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Vancouver was a loser. I just think without Quinn Hughes, Vancouver's nowhere near as good. Without Thatcher Demko, they're not nearly as good. The JT Miller stuff, Elias Pettersson stuff, that's hurt their franchise this year.
Yeah.
People can say whatever they want. That's a reality of the business. They've already traded JT Miller. I think eventually Filipino is going to do a good job there. I do. I think Mancini can do a good job there on defense. They've done some pretty decent things in Vancouver, believe it or not. Even though I know people are looking and they say they're not even in the playoffs right now. They're not. They're not. But again, I think that stuff that happened at the start of the year, Jimmy, we talked about it right at the start. I was like, this is no good. There's something wrong there.
Yeah. And they'll figure it out in the offseason. All right, next question. You hope. Ron LaRoque, do you think Winnipeg did enough? I don't think they did and probably won't get past the third round. Sorry to say. Ron, I love your takes. I disagree. Like I said in the beginning, I think that the complementary pieces, the depth moves they made, that the identified qualities to play in the playoffs, I think they did enough.
So here's what I'm going to say. I agree with Jimmy, but there's one thing, caveat to all this, and there'll probably be a lot of people in Northern Michigan not happy with me. Connor Hellebuck's got to win a playoff series.
Yep. That's the big X factor right there.
Look, I know how good he is. I watched him play college hockey at UMass Lowell. I know how good he is. Trust me. But he got to prove it in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
At some point when you don't win, and I don't know if the team's part of it, you still, Marty Brodeur stole a playoff series.
Yeah.
When Boston won the Stanley Cup, Tim Thomas stole a playoff series. Mm-hmm. When they got to the final in 13 and 19, Tuukka Rask stole a playoff series. Mm-hmm. You got to find a way to steal a playoff series. And I don't think he's done that yet. Doesn't mean he won't.
Yep.
But if you were to ask me, what's the big – and I said this to Scotty Bowman yesterday when we were talking, and I'm not going to say whether he agreed with me or not because I don't want him to put words in his mouth because I don't need him mad at me. I just said, Winnipeg I think is going to be a tough out, but Connor Hellebuck's got to deliver.
Yeah.
And nobody's – like, I don't care. I tell everybody this. I don't run with the herd. But nobody's written that. I don't know why they're afraid to write that.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's got to deliver. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, if you're Boston, are you trading some of those picks you got in the deadline deals or just drafting with them?
That's too early to tell.
Yeah, TBD.
You need collateral to make deals, but it's a fair question, Ethan. It's too early to tell. I think most teams now are focusing on, okay, if you're not a playoff team, let's finish the season and put a massive plan together. If you're getting ready for the playoffs, you have guys out evaluating teams that you think you might play, breaking down players, breaking down systems. A lot of that is changed a little because of video and because of the computers, but I still think you need to have boots on the ground scouting if you're going to be successful with playoff preparation. You do. You have to have it.
All right, next question. True. Who do you guys have as a favorite coming from the East, Florida or Tampa?
Toronto.
I'm with Pierre, Toronto. All right, next question.
Sorry.
Ethan Russell, who won the Ottawa Buffalo trade?
Depends. Go ahead, Jimmy.
TBD, but right now I'm leaning Ottawa, but again, it depends. There's a lot of
depends on Josh Norris's health.
Yep. If he stays healthy.
If he stays healthy, this has a chance to be a 50-50. But if he doesn't stay healthy, then Ottawa's going to win it.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell, why don't we see more sign and trades? Could have gotten more return than that Elmark trade. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, Pierre.
Every team's different how they approach stuff. It's not one size fits all when it comes to that stuff. It's a fair again. That's a fair question too.
Good question.
The one thing I'd say is if Donnie had a mulligan, they would have gotten Swayman done before they traded Allmark. Mm-hmm. As soon as that deal, and I know people have excuses on both sides. I understand. Everybody's got a way to fix the facts their way, but I'm telling you straight up. The Bruins season started to go awry when the Swayman contract wasn't done. And we talked about it in July. Mm-hmm. We said they've got to have him in camp. And if he's not in camp and it becomes an issue, it's going to affect the fabric of the team. And it did. And it affected him, by the way, too. He hasn't had nearly. And, I like Jeremy. I've had some amazing conversations with him. But I would tell him, you missing camp hurt yourself and it hurt the team.
I think he would admit that's the case. All right, next question. Alex Omanowski, how do you think McMichael and Protas can be for the Capitals once Ovi is gone? Can they be franchise guys to build around?
They don't have to be franchise guys. They got guys coming too. They have to be players that they are. Never lose their identity. And Ovi's so good scoring. There's no question. But they got a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Washington's got a lot going on. Wait till you get a load of that Cole Hudson when he gets up there. You think Lane's good?
Ryan Leonard.
Yeah, wait till you get to Ryan Leonard. I mean, don't worry about Washington. They got a bunch of stuff coming.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell, who's more in the hot seat, Hellebuck or Ottinger? That's a great question.
I would say Hellebuck is.
I think Hellebuck just because of where they are in the standings right now. But that is a good question. Ottinger's in that category. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, again, UMass's first line is on fire right now. Do you think they are a sneaky pick to win the national championship?
Take a deep breath, Ethan. Stop. Just get out of the next round. Get into the quarterfinal. Get into the semifinal or the quarterfinal.
I do think, as you and I discussed off air, though, Pierre, it's pretty wide open. I mean,
this year. Hey, Minnesota just lost to Notre Dame. Michigan just lost to Penn State. I've talked to so many people today that are angry with the way pairwise is set up. Like, no.
And there'll be more. There'll be more coming.
I told Jimmy 2 weeks ago there are going to be some massive upsets. Yep. You've already seen two, just in the Big Ten.
Yeah. So it's coming.
You're going to have more. There are going to be more big ones coming. Yeah. And people are going to be like, "Oh, you mean all this computer stuff doesn't work?" No.
All right, next question. Sound the siren. Here's the real question. Western or Eastern North Carolina barbecue? I'm going Eastern North Carolina all the way, sound the siren. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, my friend. Can't wait to get down there again.
I was like, how about if I'm equal opportunity? I'd like it both. Okay.
You ever have Kansas City, Pierre?
Yes, I have. You know, when you get to travel as much as I've had over the course of my career, I've had a chance to sample a lot of things. There's nothing like a crawfish boil in Louisiana, just like there's nothing like having lobster up in the Cape in the summer, just like there's nothing like going out to Kansas City and having a real Kansas City sirloin. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that I've had the unbelievable honor and privilege to do just because of hockey, and I'll never forget it. So it's all good to me.
All right, next question. Energized. One trade that flew under the radar. Yes, we discussed that.
We talked about it.
How good of an ad is that? A 25-year-old who's still an RFA. Yeah, I mean,
we talked about it. Yep. So
we'll see what happens. All right, next question. Filterless Bear, do you see a little Tom Wilson and Florian Jack?
I do, but I don't know if Florian's Tom's so here, just so everybody knows, one of the Tom Wilson's best things is he's an elite penalty killer. And I don't think people realize that because a lot of people equate Tom Wilson to penalties. But I know one of the things that Barry Trotz did was so good with him, he got him to calm down and got him into penalty killing. He and Lane Lambert did a real good job with Tommy on that. So, honestly, Florian's really good. Seen him a lot. I don't know. Tom Wilson's a pretty high comparable, but there's some similarities. That's fair. There's some similarities.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell, do you think Greg Carvel would take the Bruins head coaching job? Right now it's not open, but I'm guessing you mean if it opens. I don't think so at this point. Not yet. I don't know. I'm not Greg Carvel, so I'm not going to answer for him, but I think he would be a great coach if he did, but I don't know. Pierre is too connected to the person, so I will move along here.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yep. Next question. Ethan Russell, who wins GM of the year? That's a good
question. That's a good question. That's a really good question. How's Donnie Waddell doing with that Columbus team?
Donnie Waddell maybe he was going to be the first, I'd say. There's a lot. That's a good question.
How's that Craig Conroy doing with that Calgary team?
Yep.
How's that Cheveldayoff guy doing with his Winnipeg team? I think Kevin Cheveldayoff has done a masterful job. He deserves a lot of credit there in Winnipeg.
Yep.
They've done a good job there.
Real good GMs this year. What about Patrick in Washington?
He's been good. He inherited a lot of that stuff, but they have made a lot of moves there. The guys in Montreal have done a good job. what do they call that? Hugo's done a good job. They've been really good, and we like them on the show, and they like the show, so we're always going to be a fan of theirs. Hey, Tree Living's done a great job in Toronto too. Yeah, done a good job there. So there are a lot of guys. I don't think, but it's hard to look past Waddell. After everything that's gone on there, you look at it and you're like, whoa, he's a guy that hired Dean Evison.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else did. He hired him.
I'd say either Waddell or Trey Living. Those would be my two.
No, I'd have Cheveldayoff in that.
Okay. All right.
He made a lot of moves. He did a lot of good stuff. Not big names either. That's pro scouting. They did a good job.
All right. Next question.
Sorry about all the sun, by the way.
That's okay. I think that's it. We are done. That was a good question session. Good Q&A session. Thanks, everybody.
It kind of breaks my heart when it ends so fast, though. I like doing this.
Well, you got to be on with our good friend Mitch in about 15.
That's all right. I still got 15 minutes. I still like
say hello.
Sure. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm having dinner with my little brother and my little sister, who I don't see very often. So I'm pumped to see them tonight. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You guys are in. You're right by Hoboken, right?
We're in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yep. There we go. We go.
Everybody left that small little hamlet called Montreal to come play sports in the United States. It's pretty good. It all worked out for everybody. Yeah, it's good.
Well, enjoy the McGuire dinner, my friend. Thanks to everyone in the Q&A section. Thanks to all our viewers and listeners. And thank you to Shane working the boards up in Montreal. We will talk to you tomorrow, working on some good guests for the week. And when we have them, we will confirm with you. But until tomorrow, enjoy the hockey tonight. This has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.